in the United States. I mean, a real farce, a total deception. Here are these high-class servants, supposedly representing powerful people, who could be laid off tomorrow with the snap of a finger. And is this the ideal of African people, that African men and women end up being second bananas to white folk and look at themselves as representing powerful positions? What about those black executives who own something and who control something? What are 40 powerful executives anyway? In what way have these 40 powerful executives changed your life? Have they put an added nickel in your pocket? Have they given you an additional job? Then how is their elevation representing the elevation of black folk? What are 40 men and women out of 35 or 40 million men and women? There are 35 to 40 million black people in this country, ladies and gentlemen. It's probably 50 million. So are we going to then fall for the deception that 40 black folk in second banana jobs implies great advancement for Negro people in America? What if we had black executives over all of the Fortune 500 companies? What does that mean within the context of 40 million black folk? But you see, we got a bunch of people here who want to make you think that their getting a job represents an advancement for the race. The greatest measure of advancement for the race is the movement of average people into jobs, not the movement of a small elite. But what is it doing for the average person? It is an insult in this system anyway that an 8th grade or 9th grade educated person can't get a good job. See, we accept this as writ. The idea that if you got an 8th grade education, 9th grade education, you're supposed to starve to death. Where is that written in concrete? What kind of nation is it that will project this kind of mythology, that simply because you don't finish high school, or simply because you only finish high school, you're supposed to work for a poverty wage? But we've sort of bought into this concept and this idea. Now let's look quickly here then at the number of black folk who are making $50,000 and above. You know, that would include these great executives, right? You know what percentage of black people earn $50,000 and over? 15% of the black population. Only 15% of this 40 million people. 14 earn between $35,000 and $50,000, 14%. 14% earn between $25,000 and $35,000. 18 between $15,000 and $25,000. 11 between $10,000 and $15,000. And 15% between $5,000 and $9,000. In other words, 15% of the people are below the official poverty line, with 11% making under $5,000 a year. So we must look at progress in terms of where the average person, where these people between, let's say, 25,000 and below moving. And are those people moving? Not this small percentage that may be getting above $50,000 a year. Be very careful. J.C. Smith, an author, made the following statement: the most efficient way to maintain power is to give a little where it shows a lot. Thus, the system only removes some of the most obvious forms of exploitation and abuse. What are we talking about here? We're talking about tokenism. In other words, This nation can get a lot of mileage out of appointing 40 executives to positions, to high-profile positions in its industrial structure, and have black people then to see the appointment of these 40 people as representing progress for the whole race. This is what we mean by saying what, give a little where it shows a lot. Okay, we'll give you a few positions, and they're high-profile positions, and therefore you're overwhelmed by people being in this position, and you're fed with the false hope then that these positions and all the other positions that we don't have are now open and available to us as a people. You must recognize in my last reading that there are something like 17 million businesses in America. And to have 40 executives or even 500 executives, black executives, or to have 5,000 black executives is almost an unmeasurable number in amongst 17 million businesses. And if at last count, if my memory serves me, there's something like 77,000 black businesses. So again, you begin to realize the tremendous economic gap between black folk and so-called white folk and other folk in this system. However, the appointing of these black executives in these high-profile positions helps to deceive us and helps us buy into the ideology of individualism. The idea is that these black executives are in these positions because they study hard at night, and because they came from the right families, and because their mothers supported them, another kind of stupidity that we hear day in and day out. And therefore, we will not question the class structure of this system. We will not question the ethnic structure of the system. We will not structure the nature of power relations. We will not structure the intentions of Europeans to continue to maintain control over our lives. What the European has done essentially then is to blind us to the reality that their control over our lives and their control over the world is as strong, if not stronger, as it ever was by appointing a few black people in high-profile positions. And to feed the rest of us with vain hopes that we one day will be among those few appointees. And to therefore deceive us into supporting the ideology of individualism, each one doing his own thing, that we do not have to operate as a race and as a collective group, and we do not have to operate on the basis of a common African identity, that we do not have to operate on the basis of a nation within a nation and as a people against other people, that all we have to do is pursue our own individual interest, and we will therefore make it. This is a major deception. It is very important that we face the reality of America today and face the reality of the world today. More so than that, it is very important that we face the reality of our own situation as African Americans. I've talked in other arenas about what I call the crisis of white supremacy. One of the reasons we don't worry too much as an African people, even when we are doing badly, and even when I'm talking the way I'm talking today, is it is very difficult for many African people to perceive the white man as not being in control of the world. Yeah. You know, we've seen so many movies where white boys win all the time. We've seen so many sitcoms where in 30 minutes a white boy figures out a way to save the day. We've seen so many white supermen and Spider-Men and all these other kinds of men who are able to save Gotham from criminals and stuff, until we have been subliminally indoctrinated with the idea that white folk will always be on top. Many of us do not recognize that white folk will not